Hello and welcome back to Happily Home Cooking. I was in the mood for some fresh bread to serve with our soup for dinner tonight, so I'm whipping up a batch of our Bruschetta Herb Focaccia. This bread is moist, delicious, extremely fluffy, and even easier to make. I'm going to give you our full recipe on how to make this yourself. And even if you are not familiar with making yeast breads, don't be afraid. I'm going to walk you through this step by step so you can make this too. If you are ready for your house to smell like fresh homemade bread tonight, hit that like button and make sure you are subscribed to our channel for more of our family's favorite recipes like this one. Now come on into the kitchen with me. I'm going to show you how easy this is to make. So we'll start things off with 2 cups of warm water between 105 and 115 degrees, somewhere around the temperature of warm bath water. And to our water, we will add 2 teaspoons of granulated sugar. And then our yeast. I am using this Red Star Active Dry Yeast. Because I bake a lot, I buy this big 2-pound bag from Costco, but you can also buy this in small packets at the grocery store. So we will be adding 2 1/4 teaspoons of our yeast, or that's the equivalent of 1 packet from the grocery store. Now we'll just give this a little stir, try our best to get that yeast mixed into the water. It is not all going to be completely dissolved, so don't worry about that. Just trying to break down some of the larger chunks and get it all submerged in the water. Then we'll just let this water and yeast mixture sit for about 5 minutes or so, at which point you should notice it is foamy and bubbly. That tells us that our yeast is alive and has been activated and it is ready to make our bread. If your yeast does not begin to foam or bubble, you might want to start over. Your water temperature may have been off or your yeast could already be dead. So now grab your electric mixer. I have fitted it with a dough hook. We're going to pour in our yeast mixture, and to that we are adding 2 teaspoons of sea salt. We will also add some olive oil into our dough. This focaccia bread uses quite a bit of olive oil. It gives the bread great moisture. We are adding 3 tablespoons of it into our dough. And then lastly, we will start adding in some of our flour. I'm using bread flour for my recipe today, but you could also use all-purpose flour if that's what you have. It will turn out just fine. Bread flour can just add a little extra chewiness to the texture of your bread, which can be nice. We are going to add in our flour gradually, so I'm starting with just 1 cup for now. We'll start to get that mixed in a bit, get it moistened. Do not worry, it will not look mixed in well at all at this point. It's going to look like a weird chunky mess. Don't worry about it, you're doing just fine. Go ahead and add in another cup of your flour, and this is where our dough will begin to really mix together. We want to add our flour gradually like this. If you dump it all in at once, you are going to have a big floury mess on your hands, so you want to gradually mix it in. Here we go, cup number 3 going in. And we'll just keep this at a low speed again so that flour doesn't go flying everywhere. And now cup number 4 going in. We're really going to start to see our dough firming up a bit and sort of starting to form a ball soon. Now we'll be using a total of between 4.5 and 5 cups of flour all together. And at this point, we're just going to start gradually adding smaller amounts at a time, just sort of helping that dough come together, getting it to not stick to the sides of the bowl so much. I love using my electric mixer for making bread dough. It really takes all the hard work out of it. If you do not have an electric mixer, you could of course do this by hand with a wooden spoon, but get your muscles ready because it's going to be some work for sure. So I definitely recommend using the mixer if you have it. It just makes things so much easier. Once my dough has come together, it's all pretty much pulling away from the sides, still sticking down to the very bottom of the bowl. That is fine. We'll just let this continue mixing on a low to medium speed for about 5 minutes. This way our mixer is going to do all of the work of kneading our dough for us. So you can see we've added enough flour to where our dough is holding together to our dough hook, yet is tacky to the touch still. So now we'll get this all off of our mixer. I like to use a rubber spatula to scrape all of the dough from the dough hook. You can see how nice and smooth our dough is from being kneaded. Now we'll just loosely cover this with some plastic wrap and set it aside to let it rise for about 2 hours or until it has doubled in size. It has been 2 hours here and you can see how beautifully our dough has risen. It is now almost filling up our entire mixing bowl. Our yeast has been feeding on the sugars in our flour, and it's going to give it a wonderful flavor and aroma and a nice fluffy texture. So now grab a 9x13 baking dish. I have added 2 tablespoons of our olive oil into this dish, and I am just rubbing it around to grease the entire thing. And we will scoop our dough into here, again using a rubber spatula I find works the best. Baking this in this 9x13 dish will result in a nice thick bread. If you want a thinner focaccia, then you could do this on a large rimmed cookie sheet. So now I will just give our dough a flip so that it is now greased on both sides. And now this is the fun part. This is a great time to bring the kids in to help if they want to. We are just going to poke our fingers into our bread dough. This is going to poke all the way down to the bottom of our baking dish and kind of using my fingers here to spread it out as we go. This is not only going to give our focaccia bread that iconic dimpled look, but it's also going to give our olive oil and our herb topping great little nooks and crannies to hide in. So now we will drizzle our dough with our last 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Does it bother anybody that I'm using this measuring cup backwards? I'm sorry, left-handed person problems. And then once again, we will just loosely cover our dish with some plastic wrap while it has its second rise for about 45 minutes. This is a good time to start your oven preheating at 425 degrees. Once our dough has had that second rise, again it has puffed up and almost doubled in size once again, we're just going to remove our plastic wrap. And the last thing we will do is sprinkle the top with our Bruschetta Herb Seasoning. I am using this McCormick Gourmet Blend Sweet Basil and Oregano Bruschetta Mix. This is a blend of onion, garlic, sea salt, basil, pepper, oregano, a little sugar, red bell pepper, Parmesan cheese. It is absolutely delicious, but you do not have to use this specific seasoning mix. You could just use some simple basil or oregano or garlic or Parmesan cheese or whatever blend you like. Let me know in the comments what you decide to use and how you liked it. All right, now here's the great debate in our house. Is it easier to shake your seasoning or is it easier to tap the bottle? My husband says shaking. I personally am a tapper. I feel like it doesn't make nearly as much of a mess, and I feel like it comes out more evenly. Tell me what you do. All right, so once you have as much seasoning on there as your heart desires, our bread is ready to bake. Then we will pop this into the oven and we will bake our bread for about 20 minutes or until it has a beautiful golden brown color and has reached between 190 and 200 degrees. 20 minutes is up. Let's see what we've got. Oh, this looks so beautiful and my house smells amazing. I always like to double check the internal temperature of my bread. I've had times in the past where it has been undercooked and doughy for bread recipes, so I always like to double check. Again, between 190 and 200 degrees is perfect. Look at that golden brown color. This beauty is done. I'm going to let this hang out in its pan to start cooling for about 10 to 15 minutes. And then after that, I will remove it and transfer it to a wire rack to let it finish cooling the rest of the way. This focaccia bread has turned out so thick, soft, and fluffy. My family is going to love this. And look at all those nooks and crannies from all the dimpling that we made with our fingers. Little pockets of softness and flavor. So good. So we can slice this any number of ways. I want to show you real quick first how this looks inside. Look at all those nice air pockets we've created. It has this beautiful tender crumb from the kneading. This is delicious, just served warm with a little bit of butter. It goes great with any number of soups. I'm serving it tonight with a ham and bean soup that I threw together in our Instant Pot. Have this on the side, or what I like to do is dunk it in the broth. Sometimes I like to cut it into triangles. It just looks pretty. And this focaccia also makes great sandwich bread. It's a really nice change from just regular sliced bread, and everyone will feel like they're getting something a little fancy. However you serve it, I hope you enjoy making your own bruschetta herb focaccia bread at home. If you enjoyed this step-by-step recipe video, let us know by giving us a big thumbs up, and make sure you are subscribed to our channel so that you will be notified when we do our next family favorite recipe video. Until then, I am sending you good baking vibes and wish you happy home cooking.